regardless if you have salesmanship or not, you are going to be passionate about your product. And so,
Yeah.
therefore, the passion is going to pass through any salesmanship. And you're just going to come off as genuine, and genuine builds trust. And that's all we're trying to do, right? Like, if the customer trusts you, they will buy from you, right? A lot of people are like, oh, you got to be friends with your prospects. I don't think so. There's a lot of friends I have that I wouldn't buy from, but I would buy from somebody who I trust, right? And so if you're genuine about your product, it's going to shine through your door knocking. Once you've mastered, heck, I don't know, say even a 1% conversion, guys, okay? You can bang 100 doors a day at a 1% conversion. That is money in the bank for you guys. That's quite a bit of money, right? And at that rate, all you have to do to be able to operationalize or train a door knocker, assuming you don't have like a guy like me to train them for you, you just have them shadow you.
Welcome to the Onsite Podcast. We chat with contractors, educators, industry professionals about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So without further ado, let's fucking get into it.
What's up? Welcome back to the Onsite Podcast. Today, episode 30. It is January 5th, and we've got a great guest today, Mr. Chris Wolfe. Chris and I have been talking for a couple of years now. He's been in the online space all over the place, but he's also in the home service space, and he's also in our community. And I wanted to have him on today because he has a very unique approach to door-to-door sales. It's such a critical part of the industry, and most people have no idea how to do it. And I think that this conversation with Chris will really open it up to people to feel a little bit more comfortable with doing it. So Chris, thank you so much for being on here today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brandon. And first of all, that was a really cool intro. I really like that thing. That thing is pretty awesome. But yeah, thank you so much for having me here. Obviously, we have been in communication for some time, and it's just a matter of time for us to be able to build out some sort of opportunity for us to go live like this. So I absolutely love this. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, Chris, this is going to be a great conversation. There's a lot of different areas that we can dig into. So little backstory, Chris in the sales space, right? You're a part of Grant Cardone's Academy, or what is that about to start with?
Yeah, great question. So I initially have always been in the pressure washing space and door-to-door space, but during COVID, it was kind of like a weird time. So I actually sold my business, and I was looking for a digital product that I could sell, which actually landed me the opportunity, since I built such a strong team through my door-to-door space. I had about 45 guys door knocking with me. I built a bit of a buzz that I was able to build a sales team, which afforded me the position to work with a franchisee of Grant Cardone. So the gentleman's name is Corey Alif. He is the owner operator of Yesa. He was one of the only people in all of Grant Cardone's history to able to own the actual rights of Grant Cardone's branding. And essentially, he hired me to be able to be the director of sales and marketing for that company, essentially build out a telephone sales company. And so, yeah, we did that during COVID. And then that afforded me the opportunity to actually work in the ranks of actual Grant Cardone's business in Miami and Arizona of Cardone Ventures. So I actually went down there, flew down there, and worked with all of those guys. And man, I learned tons. Like, when you initially think you know sales, you don't know sales until you're like amongst the ranks of some of the elite.
Until you're immersed in a group of people that their life depends on success of sales. You know, most people, I think, do sales from the corner of their desk, and they don't take it as seriously as some of those people do. So I think that's a really, that's a good notch on the resume for sure. But that's the history. Today, Chris is a resident of Nanaimo, sold his company in Vancouver, and started another company in Nanaimo, and same business, but he's documenting the entire process on YouTube, and it's exciting to support you with that. So we're going to give him a quick little plug on his YouTube page. If you want to go check out his first post, he might have another video by this time, because we're going to be sharing this video on January 5th. So you're watching this, but go make sure to give him a follow on his YouTube journey. He is on currently day 60 of starting his pressure washing business in Nanaimo, and I'm excited to dig into that with you and kind of just learn a little bit more about like what's the strategy, like, you know, what's the plan, what's the goal. 2026 is here, right? We got to make it count. We got to win. You've already done this, so you already know what you're doing. So fundamentally, I'm sure the process is very similar to what you did with some small tweaks, but I'm excited to dig into that with you. So share with us that experience. What's this journey going to be like with, with growing this new business?
Totally, Brandon. And thanks for the quick plug there. I really appreciate it. But yeah, that's exactly right. When it comes down to this iteration, I want to be a little bit more strategic with showcasing the proof over the promise. A lot of people, when they get into business, they have all this like imposter syndrome and they have all this, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get business or whatnot. I want to be able to help out the fellow entrepreneur, the other home service business owner, by giving them a exact blueprint of what it takes to go and actually build out this business. But once again, who the heck am I, right? You're just some guy with a big head on screen right now. I want to be able to showcase my proof over the promise to the audience. So instead of just taking my word that I've been able to build a business, I'm documenting the whole process. I'm very raw, very low edits, me just pumping out the content of my journey of building this business in 365 days. And then that way, you don't have to take my word for it. You can actually just check the videos, check the proof, the documentary of me building out this business, which hopefully then invites people to follow along the journey and maybe take a bet on themselves. We live in a world right now where the economy's bad or this government's in power versus that government. I want to completely eliminate that, right? And just be able to say, you know what, like, doesn't matter the external factors. The only factor that really matters is you.
No, I love that. I mean, you're on our calls and you hear it regularly about the economy. And like, I'm not going to say the economy is great. Canada is an embarrassment to the rest of the world, in my opinion. And we have a lot of work to do to make it better. But that being said, people are still spending money. People are still hiring people. And people are still building businesses, even in a war zone.
Yeah.
And so, it is only an excuse if it's your excuse. And I think people frequently just find ways to make excuses on how things don't work. And that, I think, is when imposter syndrome leaches in and really takes over. And I think what ultimately it comes down to, in my opinion, is that they just don't know what actually the next move is, and
Yeah.
they're afraid to make an investment in a coach or a mentor, or they're afraid to support, a YouTube channel and learn from, your journey. You're going to learn literally everything you can on this device. Like, this device gives you access to every resource possible. It's up to you to digest the elements that serve you and the elements that don't serve you. I remember when COVID was going on, and man, I found myself spiraling a couple times down a rabbit hole of like, oh my God. And I would just sit there and just like doom scroll about like the world. And I was just like, what is going on? I found myself kind of toxic, if I'm being completely honest. I didn't like it. And the minute I just said, you know what, I'm just going to completely disconnect myself from it. I'm going to try to like avoid commenting on people's posts. I'm going to avoid trying to engage with this. My algorithm changed and I got more of, what I really enjoy. And it kind of got me through it. But you got to really check yourself sometimes when you're going through that dark stuff to pull yourself out. But Chris, this journey that you're on, so you're on day 60, we're into 2026 now, and you're in a new market. So tell me some of the things that you have uncovered, because this is business also. Like, we're not trying to be unrealistic. In business, there are forever challenges, and forever there will always be challenges. And those are situations where the best entrepreneurs pivot, the best entrepreneurs move, still with the same goal along the way. So you're on day 60. You've already experienced some challenges, no doubt, because, and maybe you haven't, but I would assume that you have, because it's business. You've already experienced some challenges. What are some of the things that you've experienced, in the 60 days that you've been growing this initial business?
Yeah, great question. There's definitely a lot to unpack there, but the first thing I wanted to mention is you were mentioning the economy in Canada. I was like, oh man, I didn't know we were going to get into that type of stuff. I'd love to talk about that. But one thing that I did learn from Grant Cardone, which was great advice, and I've always taken it to the bank, is never let a bad economy go to waste. Okay. Never let a bad economy go to waste, because any single time where there is a recession or the economy is going south or whatever, that is an opportunity for whoever is the leader in the space to then expand for all the people that are leaving in the space. Right. And I reflect on that quite heavily, is that You know, a lot of people say, oh, my industry's too saturated or there's too many people in my space. But when the economy starts going down, then they usually recess and going back to the sure thing, picking up the 9 to 5 and get out of entrepreneurship. Well, that's all of the marketplace, all of the people that they used to service, all the people they used to do business with, they're just abandoning them. And so it's up to us who actually want to double down instead of recess, double down to actually collect all that low hanging fruit. And so I actually love when the economy's bad, because that's just, I live by a philosophy. You need to do what others won't do so you can have what others won't have. I'm willing to double down on a recession. I'm willing to invest double of my marketing than what I would have done in my in a bad economy, so I can hopefully pick up that low hanging fruit. And then all of my existing customers, they're not just banking on the fact that I'm existing. I'm not just a commodity anymore. I'm now showing, once again, proof over promise. I've been in the space longer than any of my competition, and hopefully that then ranks me to the top. But yeah, in terms of, sorry, what, I got off track there. What was the initial question?
You're good. I was just curious what kind of, challenges you faced, with your entrepreneurial journey in the first 60 days right now. That really
great question.
Because shit happens throughout the process.
Totally.
You got to pivot and move forward. You have a plan, you wake up, you start the plan, you end the day, the plan's different.
Yeah, totally. I have an exact answer for that, especially coming to a smaller town of Nanaimo versus a big city like Vancouver and all of the neighboring cities around Vancouver. I know it's in my title, True North Pressure Washing, but pressure washing is actually one of the smaller services that we offer, but it is typically the brand that they offer us so that people understand, oh, you're the guy that cleans houses. Mm-hmm. Sure. So I will adopt the name in the language of what my customers will use. But the actual service that we predominantly offer is something called soft washing, which is very common down in America. But in Canada, there is a bit of a learning curve, and it's sort of starting to get more popularized in bigger cities. But in a small city like Nanaimo, there is like next to no soft washing companies out here. And so the barrier to me penetrate the market, there is a bit of an education process of letting them know that I am not a pressure washer that's going to be pressure washing the roof of your, demossing the roof, or some of the softer surfaces on a house. We're going to be soft washing. And so I have to educate the process, educate the buyer, which the soft washing service actually has like a premium behind it. It's significantly more expensive as a service than pressure washing. It's about double, if not triple, the amount of service. So to be able to get my buyer not just educated, but be more comfortable that they're going to be spending more than the other contractors out there, I would say that's probably the biggest barrier versus me just going to Vancouver. I use the word soft washing. The buyer already knows kind of what I'm talking about.
Right. So you got to spend a bunch of time educating your clients on the service that you provide. And that takes time, that's probably, going to be a bit of a hurdle for you entering into that space. I know when I kind of founded a service-based business, with the resinous coating industry, I did that 15 years ago. I started one of those companies. I was like the first guy, like one of the first guys. And I spent 2 or 3 years educating people, like to the point where I could say that I was the chemist with the resin. Because I had to come up with some type of angle that really just provided some context to people so they could understand a little bit more in detail. And so that gave me the authority in that space. And so, I feel for you, because that I found, for me, education is expensive. Education costs a lot of time. It's a lot of conversations, but it gives you a very strong footprint in the economy in that location as you build those relationships. And so as long as you build relationships based on, an exceeded expectation, a delivery that, encompasses just a raving 5-star review at the end of the day, you can stack those all day. Those are all little wins that get to stick with you forever, because you've spent so much time, right? Like, instead of a client coming to you and saying, hey, Chris, I want you to do, pressure washing. So they might call you and say, hey, Chris, like, what do you guys exactly do? Like, we've got this moss and we're going to clean the outside of our house. And you would explain your services, right? Which then gives them more context, more value. And then as the transaction continues throughout the day, or whenever it takes place. By the end of it, they know exactly what's going on, versus somebody just calling you and say, hey, I want you to soft wash this XYZ. And then they're judging you on that singular experience. So it really builds a much more aggressive customer base that, I think will be a bit of a slow growth. And I don't know if that's in your deck on how this is going to grow, but I think it'll be a little bit of a slow growth, but it'll be a very powerful growth because you'll have an audience behind you that's really cheering you. And I like that you're documenting it now, because that also makes a lot of sense, brings a lot of value as well.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. I want to be able to just take away any of the excuse makers or the naysayers or the whatever saying, oh, you only made it because of XYZ. I want to eliminate that. I actually want to stack the deck against me so that I can just showcase that I am nothing special. Like I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I didn't have this massive marketing budget. In fact, my whole mantra here is no capital, no contacts, no excuses. So I want to be able to leverage no capital to be able to build this. I'm not using my previous capital or anything. I'm using like boots on the ground and just raw dogging this whole experience to be able to showcase like I am the fellow man out there who is just, hey, I'm tired of the 9 to 5. I'm tired of, getting, dicked around or whatever. I wanna take a bet on myself. And sadly, I have a mortgage, I have a wife or kids or whatever. I can't take that much risk. And so I only have X amount of dollars to invest into a business. I want to be that guy and document that story that even that guy can win. Even that guy can actually go out there, bang a whole bunch of doors, which is $0 equity. It is sweat equity. And you can build a business off of that. And then, of course, start compounding your efforts to reinvesting into your business, reinvesting into your marketing, acquisition, yada, yada, yada. But for the brand new entrepreneur who doesn't know where to go, I want to be able to create a blueprint, a carbon copy of something that they can execute on day one. Like, you don't need to overthink it. You can just go out there and bang a door, right? And that was literally what my first episode was about. My first episode was like, hey, I just literally moved here. I don't even have all my boxes unpacked. Let's just bang a door, see if I can get paid. Not just find a job, not just get a client saying yes, but complete a project and get paid the same day. I wanted to execute that. And it's all on episode 1, which I was once again showcasing the proof that can exist. And I'm not saying everybody will have those results, but as long as you just keep going up to the plate and keep swinging, you will find a similar result.
Hey, we've got an ad here. Make sure to pay attention. What's up, guys? Are you a contractor or business owner looking to take things to the next level? Well, I've got something for you. The Elite Builder Society is a community that helps contractors grow and scale. For $49 a month, you can have access to 20 group coaching calls. Look, you're probably wondering, how am I going to show up to 20 calls, Brandon? That's a lot. And yeah, it is a lot for $49 a month. But every call is recorded so you can watch it at your leisure. But you get the best experience when you're live on the call with us. Okay, at the end of every webinar, there will be a Q&A where you can ask the industry expert questions that you can implement into your business. Look, if you're ready to take things to the next level for $49 a month, go to ebsworks.com and register today. I look forward to seeing you inside the community.
Yeah, at the end of the day, guys, if you guys are listening and you're thinking about starting a pressure washing or soft washing business, you can reach out to Chris at _Chris_Wolfe on Instagram. You can connect with him there. So Chris is not doing this from theory. He's already done it. He did it in Vancouver, which is a saturated market. And he exited out of that company, and now he's doing it again in Nanaimo. And so if you are thinking about expanding, you are wanting to grow your business, definitely reach out to him. There may be some opportunities where he could, work with you to help you get set up in your city. But Chris, one of the things that really stuck out with me, you and I were chatting a month ago. I feel like I'm pretty good at sales. Like I feel like I could sell ice to an Eskimo. That's a saying. I'm never good at sayings either, by the way, but I just got one there. So I feel like I literally feel like I could sell ice to an Eskimo. And you kind of went through. So door to door, I've never done door to door. I do door to door in a non-strategic way. Just, walk up, knock on the door. Hey, how's it going? And I still convert. at that point. But
Mhm.
Chris, your strategy that you talked to me is what stood out to me. And that's really why I wanted to have you on today, because
Yeah.
ultimately, there are contractors, there are all different types of people listening to this. Door-to-door works in every industry. In my opinion, in a service-based industry, it can work in every industry because it starts the conversation. And so,
Mhm.
Chris, your door-to-door tactic, if you're comfortable sharing with us a little bit of it or as much as you want, I would
Sure.
love to hear kind of like what that roadmap looks like. So if you're thinking about, doing door-to-door sales, this is something you're going to want to listen to for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Let me just impose one question first before I move forward. Mr. Brandon, when it comes down to all the people that you work with or people that you have seen on the marketplace or whatever, how much do people typically spend to be able to generate conversation? Not lead, not landed a project, but how much dollar in ad spend on Meta or Google does typically someone need to spend to be able to just get into conversation?
Well, so I believe that you have to spend at least 10 to 15% to grow your business. Sorry,
Right.
10 to 15% to maintain your business. Most people aren't even spending that. They're just literally doing it from a shoebox, guessing what their next move is. To grow your business, I think you need to invest at least 20 or greater. And when I mean that, it includes ad spend, it includes time, it includes, your sales process. You need to be able to give up a percentage of something in order to get a percentage of something in return. And so that would be kind of my data. I would say at least 10 to 15% on maintaining business
Sure.
and 20 plus to really grow the business.
So let's be as conservative as possible. Let's say it's even the 10%, and let's say your average ticket is between, say, $1,000 or $10,000, something in between that, right? So that means for every single time to be able to generate a conversation, conservatively off of those numbers, it would cost you $100 to be able to be in conversation with somebody, to as high as $1,000 to get into conversation
Mhm.
with somebody. With my door-to-door strategy, it takes we have an open rate between 20 to 25%. That means out of every 4 to 5 doors, someone will open up a door, which means instead of you giving Mark Zuckerberg $100 to $1,000, you get to actually keep that in your pocket and being able to save that marketing cost that you can reinvest into maybe more tools, more equipment, whatever it takes for you to be able to get more potential services or get better at your service. That is where my psychology immediately goes, is that instead of getting into business and you have very low capital, you don't want to give it away to Mark Zuckerberg right away. You don't want to give it away to Google right away. You'd want to be able to hold on to your nickels and dimes as much as possible so you can actually just keep surviving in business. The point of business is how many times can you, like, we can hit home runs at the plate, but the point is how many times can swing, right? You got to make sure that you can afford yourself to keep swinging. And door to door affords you to be able to have the ability to swing as many times as your legs are able to move to the next door. Straight up.
Like I'm with you. Do everything organically first and
Yeah.
foremost. Network, call your friends, call, small businesses, call suppliers, call vendors, do all that stuff before you invest in any Meta or Google. I would always do Google first before Meta, depending on
Mhm.
the type of business you're in. But I would do that after you've mastered organic. And door to door, in my opinion, is the highest converting sales engine that is organic and that exists. And as you do it, you just get better. The more you
Totally.
do, like the first time you do it, you're going to be uncomfortable. There's a guy actually that I used to coach. I tried working with him, and he's actually in Vancouver. He's in a landscape industry. And I told him, you got to go knock on doors. You got to go put some signs out, knock on doors. Oh, I'm uncomfortable. That stuff doesn't work. I'm like, it does work because like you can target the neighborhood that you want to work in, and the door's right there. All you got to do is just knock on it, and somebody
Totally.
will answer or somebody won't. And if they don't answer, you just leave something behind and go on to the next one. And
Totally.
he just wasn't
Yeah.
into it. So, let's dig into like what does that process look like for you?
Yeah. Back to one of the things I was saying is you need to do what others won't do so you can have what
Right.
others won't have. I believe most people won't knock a door. So therefore, if I am trying to get into business, I'm not trying to commoditize myself. And commoditize myself is do what everybody else is doing. So you're priced at what everybody else is pricing. My job is to get into a category of one. If I'm in a category of one, I get to dictate my pricing. And that's why, like, when I go into Nanaimo and nobody's ever heard of soft washing, I get to actually dictate whatever price I want to price because nobody else is doing it. So I am pioneering the market. Therefore, I get to adjust the price to whatever the market should be, which is amazing, first of all. Secondly, when I go to the door, when I'm pitching my services, the prospect and the buyer, if they were to organically look for it, the first thing they're going to be doing is, all right, cool. We have company A, company B, company C. What's the prices between all of them? What's the reviews of all of them? They're just immediately, once again, just doing the buyer's process of commoditizing it versus me being at the door. They're potentially now buying convenience. Now, when they're in a space of purchasing convenience, once again, there's a price to convenience. Like, I'm guilty of doing skip the dishes or DoorDash every now and then. I'm paying a premium for the convenience of them driving to my house and delivering my food. Well, that right there is the same psychology. I go to the door that I'm not just selling my pressure washing services, my roof cleaning, my gutter cleaning services. I'm selling convenience. So based off of that, how do I operationalize that? Well, when I go to the door, I'm not a salesman. I am not suited and booted. Some people I've seen, they're in a full-blown suit. It's like, dude, you're a contractor. You got to represent the contractor uniform, not a freaking suit, right? So I go to the door looking like the version that they would feel trusted on their property, that they would believe that could fulfill the project. Okay. So in fact, the Carhartt sweater and it's all stained with all my bleach and I'm wearing like ruggedized pants and stuff. That is actually who they would trust on their property. That is the person that they would trust, that this person is probably going to clean the gutter. This guy's capable of doing the roof cleaning. That is actually my work uniform. I'm not wearing this. I'm not wearing this. I'm looking like a contractor because not only am I selling my services, I don't book it for the future. I get it done the same day. So this is how I'm going to be looking. This is how I'm going to be performing the work on your house. Number two, when I actually get into conversation with them, I'm not pitching them, do you want to get your roof clean? I'm actually trying to buy them. This is the psychology here, guys. You guys got it. Like, if you have pen and paper, write this down. The job of the icebreaker is to buy 5 more seconds. Okay, is to be able to extend the conversation. You have established zero trust at the door, and so your job is to elongate the conversation so you can keep buying more 5 seconds, more 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, to the point and the degree where then trust is established. And so how do I do that? I uniquely position myself as a contractor who's already working in the neighborhood. Do you remember me? Or have you noticed me? This is now not only posturing myself to be in a space where this is just a normal day for me, but it's also now making me have the buyer or the prospect be defensive because I am the person who's asking the question. The person who controls the conversation is the person who's asking the question and getting a response. Okay? If you're the person answering questions, you don't actually get to control the conversation. So when I position myself saying, oh, hey, Sally, how's it going? Or sorry, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, did you see me working over at Sally's house? I'm now posturing myself that this is just a regular day for me. And I'm now making the buyer actually memory jog. Oh man, like I better remember how I know this guy or if I've seen this guy. I'm now putting the buyer defensive mode, which isn't that all what we're trying to do? It's just buy another 5 more seconds where they're just memory jogging. From there, I let them know, all right, it's not a big deal if you remember me or not, but since I was working on your neighbor Sally's house or Bob's house or whoever it is, when I was on their property, I noticed you had a little bit of buildup on your property. So what did I just do? I seeded pain, okay? You cannot cure cancer until you identify it. And so my job is to be able to identify the cancer on their property. Is their gutters full? Is there moss on the roof? Are their windows dirty? Is there a whole bunch of algae on the driveway? Whatever the case might be, it doesn't need to be pressure washing, right? Like if you're a painter, is the fascia board busted up? Do they need a brand new garage? Well, whatever the case might be, your job is to be able to identify the pain before you solve it. And so I then go into the customer, let them know like, hey, I was over there. While I was over there, I noticed we had some buildup on your guys' property. I then impose a question. Have you ever had a professional do it before? Right? Doesn't matter what your industry is. Have you ever had a professional get it done before? I'm not asking if they've done it before. I'm trying to eliminate the do-it-yourself conversation. I'm asking, have you ever had a professional? That is allowing me to probe and prospect, qualify if they've ever bought my services before. If they bought my services before, I can then go into a, cool, you've already bought my service. When was the last time it was done? I'm rooting more pain. When was the last time?
And then you're going to get right into essentially by doing that. So you've analyzed, some rapport in the beginning. And guys, if you're listening to this, like, you can build a framework. You can use ChatGPT to help you do this. This doesn't need to be like rocket science, So he's built rapport. He's identified, created some, trust and authority with the client. He's identified, so he's anchored to the problem by calling out the cancer. And now he's getting to the position where the client is going to truly start to give him objections, on why they don't need something, or why they do, or why that's not right, not a good time, or, why they can't do this or why they can't do that. But he's at that point, and that's really like in sales, that's where you want to get to as quickly as possible. You want to get to a point where it's like, okay, so we've got this problem, right? We got the buildup on the roof. They acknowledge, yeah, okay, I've noticed that I got that a buildup on the roof. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? Because if you don't do something about it, it's going to be a bigger problem. And then you get to the objection handling, element, which online you can find, so many different angles of objection. It doesn't matter what industry this is in. You're going to get very similar objections. My wife's not home, or my husband's not home. I don't have the money right now. All the same stuff all the time. And so, Chris, what do you do at that point when you take them through this journey? Because there's an element, Chris, that as Chris is also leaving out right now. He does this in I think you probably do it in a one-man show, but you also do it where you have two people. You almost have a setter that goes to get the prospect ready. And so I'd love for you to just share that part before we get into the objection side of things, where you throw,
So
your little anchor out there.
Usually I eliminate the objection portion by having what you and I were literally discussing yesterday about lead magnets. Is I have a form of a lead magnet in person. And so what my lead magnet essentially is how do I be able to offer value before I ask something in return? So when does a sale happen? A sale happens when value exceeds price. And so our job as contractors is to be able to establish as much value as at the early stage, so that we can then ask for something in return. What is deemed as value? Value isn't, hey, like, here's my business card. Value is something that's objectively valuable to the prospect. And so to me, if I'm already on Sally or Bob's house and I'm noticing some buildup on their property, they may have seen it when they're driving in the driveway. They might have seen it through their window, but they might not actually understand the full scope of how cancerous or how much it's spread onto their property. So what we offer as a free value is, why don't we get up on your roof, take a couple pictures, so that way you as the prospect can take my proof, not the promise that I'm saying it's dirty. You actually have pictures of your gutters, pictures of your roof that is actually mossy to the degree that you want to see it. And then from there, you guys can contact me. So what I do with my setters here, Brandon, is I train them with an exact script for them to be able to deploy into the marketplace by using that exact strategy, that we will offer you free photos. Upon that moment where they set it and they agree, get the prospect to agree, yeah, if it's free and it's not going to cost me a dime, sure. I also want to highlight that I lower their defense system by using this phrase. I say, not only will I give you photos, I'll give you a digital business card so you can contact me whenever you're ready. That is the exact line I say. I'll give you guys the photos and a digital business card, not just a business card, a digital business card, so you can contact me whenever you're ready. Now, why do I say that? The digital business card gets me to have permission to now extract their contacts. I can now email or text message them my digital business card. So then you don't have to be in that awkward stage at the bottom, like, oh, what's your, is it okay if I get your phone number? Now I'm just completely jumping over that by saying, yeah, I'll text you guys a digital business card. What's your phone number? So I can text you the photos of your roof or email you the photos of your roof and also your business card. That is a little way that I extract the customer's information. From there, once my setters get the actual approval that we can get on the roof, my setters just call me or one of my closers, and we drive by with our big branded vehicle, ladder. Now it's showing like we're a real company. We're not some guy in a random truck or, like smoking cigarettes on your property. Like we're a real branded company.
Yeah, we call that guy Chuck in a truck. The guy that has the random truck.
Yeah, we don't want to be Chuck, guys. We don't want to be Chuck. And so I come out with my van and all of our guys are branded and stuff. And then we slap a ladder on the roof. We make commotion. So all of a sudden they're now feeling invested into this now, right? Regardless if they bought or not, they feel invested because our ladders are on their property. My guys are already there. We're getting up on the roof. We're taking pictures. We're making a whole bunch of noise. These are the things that people want to see because now it looks like, yeah, like this is a legitimate company. I'm constantly establishing trust. Once again, I said at the beginning here, guys, our job is to just increase the time horizon we have with the relationship of the customer. The longer you have a relationship, the trust increases. From there, snap a picture, and then I text it and email it to the customer, but I also just go straight back to the door, show them all the photos, and I explain now the pain of what is problematic, that it's not just an aesthetic thing. There's functional issues like the moss is getting underneath the shingling, it's getting into the roof caps, your fascia boards are rotting as a result, your gutters are completely clogged, downspouts are clogged. I'm just painting pain. Now, instead of them like, oh, I have to go source a new gutter cleaning company to go install this, I'm the gutter cleaning company. I'm going to go install this for you guys.
Yeah.
And so then I get to have, yeah, exactly. And so then from there, I give them a couple options. And this is a very important thing for any contractor out there, that you need to be able to position yourself that you are option A, option B, and option C. Okay. The buyer is always going to be thinking who's option A, option B, option C. But if you have package A, package B, and package C, then you're the only decision that they're thinking of. They're thinking of, am I going to go with your package A or package B versus am I going to go with your company versus your competition? So I present to them, do you just want your gutters or do you want your roof and gutters? And if you're feeling spicy today, should we just get the whole house done? Right? I present them an offer with option A, option B. Not me is option A, company B is option B.
I love this, Chris, and this is a great reminder. So the guy that I was talking to that said that he doesn't know how to do door knocking, I feel like you miss out on so many opportunities. It's like the frontline opportunity for you to build organic traction in your network, in your community. And if you're a remodeling contractor or any type of other service-based contractor, you just have to think about like, how do I incorporate this strategy into my niche? There are people, Chris, maybe you can help us find these people, but there are people out there that are door knockers, right? So the door knockers, I actually just had one from Leaf Filter. They're a franchise, I believe. Literally just came, and it is cold outside today or the other day. And they were knocking on doors. And they're like, hey, how are you? We're just scheduling. But they didn't do a great job. They were setters, we'll call them.
Yeah.
Didn't do a great job. But they could knock 50 to 100 doors and acquire one or two people that are like, yeah, I'd be interested in getting a quote. And this is what's really great. They've spent the time to basically scan a neighborhood, building impressions throughout that neighborhood, and then they find and propagate a couple opportunities. So if you're any type of service-based contractor and you have yourself a door knocking setter like that, which Chris, I'm going to hopefully be able to dig into that with you on where we'd find these people or how we would find these people. They're knocking on the doors. They set the appointment. The person's like, yeah, I'm ready for an estimate. Right. And so if you're a remodeling contractor, you come to the house as the remodeling estimator, you work through the project just like normal. You have a little bit of a sales framework. You should have a sales framework. If you don't have one, You can reach out to us. We can help you build that. You got your sales framework, just like you guys are doing, where you expose the problem, provide the solution, and give them the opportunity to make the decision. And this 3-option thing that Chris is talking about, everybody needs 3 options. You need to have 3 different types of options. The goal should be the middle, I believe. The goal should always be the middle. So you create almost an unrealistic option. Most people will never do the whole house, right? They're not going to do the whole house. They do, it happens, but the majority of the time, people are going to hit that middle one. And so in any service-based business, if you're doing this, if you formulate this tactic into your business, it will be effective.
What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Onsite Podcast. So here's the deal. We want to grow this show and we need your help. It's simple. Pay the tax, share the show. That's it. Let's get back into it.
I also want to point out there are guys out there that are a bit egotistical, old school, think this is slimy and snaky sales, and I want to just let them know that no, it's methodic. We're playing on the psychology of the situation and we're just doing it better than you are. We're getting in front of opportunities faster and closing them quicker and more efficiently with better margins than you are. And that's just the difference. It's not slimy, it's not salesy, it's tactical. And this is great. So Chris, if anybody's listening to this, depending on who's listening to this, if you want to incorporate this door-to-door process into your sales process, how do people find those setters?
Yeah, good question. Maybe this is not the perfect answer you want to hear, but it is something I really do want to establish. If you're looking for an established, talented setter, they typically already know what their value is because it is becoming a demand service that people are inquiring. And so the actual setters, the actual door knockers that are actually really good, A, they're either breaking off starting their own business, or B, they're looking for probably really unrealistic high expectation for wage because there are big solar panel companies or big, roofing companies that have already acquired them. So another thing that I would probably rather push people into is building a door knocker. And that's a lot more achievable, and you're going to be able to get a much better return on your investment if you go that direction. And let's be honest, if we want to leverage that thing that we started at the very beginning of this call was bad economy, there is now more people in the marketplace that are looking for a sustainable job more than ever, right? Bad economies mean there's a lot of people who are looking for good work, and this is good sustainable work. I will typically pay one of my setters, not even a closer, anywhere between $150 to $500 per day. Okay, my closers can make up to $1,000 a day, but a setter who has very little, if anything, zero experience in the home service industry, I can still pay them a pretty sustainable wage between $150 to $500 a day.
How many doors are they knocking at $150 to $500 a day? How many doors would they be knocking? And then successfully, how many doors do you think, like, obviously you're going to pay the guy that you're paying $500. He's bringing opportunities to the table, but how many doors? What's the expectation on that?
Yeah, great question. I don't keep a setter if they can't knock a minimum of 100 doors. But realistically, my setters are going to be knocking anywhere between 150 to 250 doors a day. Okay. And this is the main thing. A lot of people, it's the dilemma: optimization versus maximization. Optimize versus maximize. Okay. We are in the business of maximizing opportunities, not optimizing the opportunity. Until you span maximization, until you've hit every single door in your city, you've done it like 5 or 6 times, don't optimize, maximize. Okay. So a lot of people will try to, what is the perfect script? I got to come up with the perfect script. And then they'll only bang 20 doors. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you only land one project out of those 20 doors. If I had a mediocre script and I was landing, say, 1 out of every 50 doors, but I knock 200 doors a day, I've now quadrupled my yield, right? So we want to make sure that you have a script that is able to have a value proposition, be able to identify a pain, that you are the solution, and you have multiple different price points that can attend to all the people who are in the marketplace ready to buy. It just becomes a numbers game at that point. So I would invite you guys to be able to find a college student who's just looking to pay off some university debt or something, or a guy that's just actually, there's a lot of guys that actually love sales with this whole social media and personalities out there. The salesman is now becoming more of a revered personality as opposed to the snaky, slimy guy. All my life, Brandon, I've always been battling with people like, oh, you're just a salesman. Now it's like, you're a salesman. I got to learn more from you, right? So, I just invite you guys that, yeah, there are a lot of people out there that just want to get into the space out there. And I also invite you guys to just do it yourself, okay? Because regardless if you have salesmanship or not, you are going to be passionate about your product. And so therefore, the passion is going to pass through any salesmanship. And you're just going to come off as genuine, and genuine builds trust. And that's all we're trying to do, right? Like if the customer trusts you, they will buy from you, right? A lot of people are like, oh, you got to be friends with your prospects. I don't think so. There's a lot of friends I have that I wouldn't buy from, but I would buy from somebody who I trust, right? And so if you're genuine about your product, it's going to shine through your door knocking. Once you've mastered, heck, I don't know, say even a 1% conversion, guys, okay? You can bang 100 doors a day at a 1% conversion. That is money in the bank for you guys. That's quite a bit of money, right? And at that rate, all you have to do to be able to operationalize or train a door knocker, assuming you don't have like a guy like me to train them for you, you just have them shadow you.
Yeah.
You just have them shadow you. You knock doors, you speak to the customer, you do it for 20 doors, and then you just say, hey, go do one yourself, and then you shadow them, right? So it's demonstrate, document, and then have them deploy it, okay? So you got to make sure that you demonstrate it first, document the process so that they have a framework to work off of, like a script or something, and then you have them deploy it.
This is, this is a great conversation. Actually, one of the things, and I honestly can't believe it's been 50 minutes already.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But before we wrap this up, one of the things I'm just going to say is you can incorporate this strategy literally into any service-based business. I'm going to give you an example. So, and Chris, I'll share this with you. So one of the contractors that we work with, several of them, one of our tactics is, when we're in the area, we deploy. And so, people put out the yard sign. That's like one of the first things they do when they're on site. Put out the yard sign, go inside, start doing some work, take a break, come outside, and literally bang doors, the neighboring doors. And what we do is we have a printed letter from the owner, and it says, hey, we're in the neighborhood working down XYZ down the street on XYZ's house. We don't put the client's name in there. We're doing XYZ service, whatever it might be. We know that construction can be disruptive to neighborhoods, and we wanted to give you an opportunity, if anything ever came up, to reach out to us. No CTA, no sales, no nothing. Starts a conversation. So you have this printed letter with your signed information. You got your website, you got all that stuff. You got the truck on site, you got the sign on site. You're noisy in the neighborhood, right? And so these people are like, who is this person? And if you're working there for a week, a month, a year, whatever it might be, they're going to continue to see that. And so every break, you go knock a couple more doors, And over the course of the time while you're on site, you'll be able to canvass that whole neighborhood, and they'll be continuously driving by your sign and your trucks and your noise. And if you have a problem, if they have a problem with you, you have to solve it. That's part of business. It's like, you can't be a disruptive, annoying human or business owner. You have to solve the problem. But let's just say that somebody answers the door and you don't have to put that letter in the mailbox. This is an opportunity for you to do the exact same thing. Hey, nice to meet you. My name is blah, blah, blah. We're just working down the street here. I wanted to give you my card because my understanding of construction can be disruptive. And so if there's ever any problems, you can call me personally on my cell. There's my information. Don't hesitate to reach out. Oh, people are nosy. People are just naturally nosy. And so they will say, well, what are you doing? What are you doing down the street? Well, we're doing, blah, blah, blah. But we don't want to share those details with you. And, we're doing, a small little renovation, or we're changing the light fixtures, or, we're doing a furnace upgrade, or whatever it might be. And they're like, well, I need something like that done. Well, hey, that's great. Well, you know what? I've got to get back to site. I just wanted to give you my information. I can definitely schedule a meeting with you and take a look at this. Can I get your information? So you make yourself unavailable, but available, right? And you create this FOMO. So it's very similar to what you're doing with that. I think that incorporation of that tactic is when you what Chris is talking about is when you teleport into a neighborhood that you're not working in, and you want to start working in it. So you have the option. You're either working in a neighborhood, you do that, or you're not working in a neighborhood and you do that. But door-to-door sales works. It is some of the most powerful marketing that I've ever done in my business. So I grew, my service-based resinous coating company. We completed almost 3.5 million square feet of resinous floors. And most of it was through referrals, door-to-door referrals. We would always do a client's home. We would hang door hangers down both sides. But at that time, we didn't do the door hanging or we didn't do the door knocking thing. We just hung the door hanger and we were just noisy and it converted like that. If you add these other elements into your sales process, no question, it will increase your conversion and put opportunities on the table. So if you're out there and you're saying the economy is shit, I hear you. The economy is challenging. Okay. It is a challenge. It is something that you have to process, but it can't be the thing that you hang up your excuses on. Your excuses should not exist. You should just go out there and do what needs to be done to feed your family and to provide for your family. It's 2026. Okay. It's the start of a new year. Go follow Chris and his journey. Chris, I don't want to continue this because I think we could talk for another hour. And I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to dig in and have another episode about this journey and check back, on maybe day 100, see where you're at with this journey and this experience. I'm rooting you on, cheering you on. I'm helping you wherever I can, but at the end of the day, if you need to ever, chat, reach out, if you're going through that, because this is also the reality, in entrepreneurship, you're going to reach a point where you're going to face a moment of imposter syndrome where you're just like, man, is this really working out? Is this really what I want to do? Is this really what I should be doing? Finding somebody that you can talk to and just breathe through that with is healthy. So Chris, I'm extending that opportunity to you. If you ever have a problem, are you ever in that point in your life where you're just like, man, day 100 is looking pretty tough right now. I'm at day 80 and I just need a little bit of motivation. You can always reach out to me. I got your back, brother.
Hey, man, I really appreciate that. And for everybody that is listeners here, I just want to just really invite them, typically in life, whether you're a business owner or you're just trying to survive life, the one piece of advice that I hope it really lands with people is that you need 3 people in your life. Okay. Number 1, you need somebody above you. Okay. Above you, like a mentor, like a coach, like a Brandon, because these are people that are going to be pouring into you, giving you the shortcuts to life, the people that are going to be giving you all of the pains that they had. So hopefully you can avoid them. You need somebody on the same level as you, which is what Brandon's created, a community where you can then be able to find out other people's stories, what's working for you, what's not working for you. And then you can also have accountability between these people, right? Anybody in the community, they can hold you accountable. Did you knock your doors? Did you blast out those marketing emails? And then you can also hold them accountable. And then someone below you, okay? Because we are, as much as we are businessmen, we are not just takers. We don't just pour into our cup, we pour out of our cup. And you got to be able to pass on the brilliance, the knowledge, all of the things that you've learned and give it and pay it forward, right? So I would say where it starts though, guys, instead of just pouring from an empty cup, you got to get something in your cup. And that happens through a mentor or a coach. So Mr. Brandon, I love everything you do, man. I think you are the very rare actual operationalizing coaches out there. There's so many coaches that just slap that title on their name because it's a sexy title, but there's actually very few who actually have operationalized it to the point where people are actually yielding results. And I just wanted to be able to give my flowers to you, Brandon, that you are you're crushing it, dude. And I love everything what you're doing. I saw your journey from the first time we spoke to where you are today, and I just you're going to be climbing mountains, brother. You're going to the top.
I appreciate that, man. I've been in this industry for 25 years. I just kind of digested that the other day. I've started several businesses. I've failed in businesses. There was a point in my life where, I was a part of a big nonprofit. I led a big nonprofit, and I got to significantly impact somebody's life more than once. And not just the people that we were doing the service for, but everyone around me. It was the craziest feeling of life. Grant Cardone actually said, you'll never know what life is like until you help somebody else discover life. And that experience changed my life, changed my direction. And then when I was given an opportunity to get into the coaching space a couple of years ago, it helped one person. And I was like, this is such a great familiar feeling. And so I've leaned into it. I've helped hundreds of people across North America. And, you know, I appreciate you supporting me through that journey. But like, I still have a lot of growth to do for sure. But just the impact and the reward is crazy. You know, we're into 2026. We're going to be in our third year of this community, third year of growth. We've made hundreds, if not thousands, of connections with people. And this year, you know, my big audacious goal is to just blow this shit up and help as many freaking people as possible.
Let's do it, brother.
I'm stoked for you to be there with the journey. So everybody, if you've had a chance to listen to this episode, you like what you hear, you want to talk to Chris, again, you can go reach out to him on Instagram at @_Chris_Wolfe. Go connect with him and give him a follow and follow his journey. Day 100, Chris, we're going to dig back into this. We'll schedule it. Okay. So now you have to be accountable. Okay. So now you're going to be accountable. Day 100, we're going to have Chris back on the episode. We're going to have back on the Onsite Podcast, and we're going to dig into his journey, see where he's at. I'm going to continue to support you throughout that entire process.
Thanks, Brandon. I really appreciate it, man. It really means a lot. And if there's any way I could help support you as well, just let me know. My phone is always open for you, man.
I got it, man. We'll keep the conversation rolling. Don't you sweat. Well, hey, everybody, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Onsite Podcast. Episode 30, we are into 2026, okay? If you've ever had a goal to do something different, today is the day. Take action. That's going to be a new shirt that I'm going to be getting, okay, into 2026. It's going to say literally take action, because most people, what I've recognized is most people aren't willing to do what is necessary in order to get the things they want. So all you got to do is take action, okay? One foot in front of the other. Thank you so much, Chris, for this episode.
Thank you. God bless.
All right, that concludes this episode of the Onsite Podcast. Remember, if you enjoyed this episode, please pay the tax, share the show. Guys, if you want to be a part of the Elite Builder Society, all you got to do is pay $49 a month. That's it. $49 a month. You get 20 group coaching calls every month, okay? Go to ebsworks.com and register today. If you enjoyed the show, please pay the tax and share the show.